Hi, my name is Stella, and like I said before in my previous video that we will be starting a series of videos on all the format and strategies of all test preparation products, that is IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT and SAT. Right, so today we are coming with the reading strategies and the writing of your IELTS, both general and academic, but basically I'll be talking about the 5 main errors that the IELTS students commit during their IELTS test. Today I will start with reading first, on why sometimes we do our exams so well, we know the answers very well, but still we are unable to score the scores that we actually practice for or that we actually really need for the test. So today I'll be talking about 10 errors. I've listed only 5 here right now. I'll be talking about the 5 errors that we make in the reading module, especially when you're giving the real test. So if I talk about the first one, not using reading strategies. Now we all know that all of us have got various ways of dealing with the reading pattern. There are 3 paragraphs and almost 40 questions which you have to complete in 1 hour. So let us come straight to the basic or to the foundation of it. Now we know that we have 60 minutes to complete 40 questions, and we all know that practically if we give 1 to 2 minutes for 1 question, that means it takes 80 minutes for 40 questions, but we're given only 60 minutes. So how do we deal with the next 20 minutes? So reading strategies that are given to you, which I will be talking in another video of mine, so that is the most important thing. The main important subjects that we actually deal with the reading strategies is your time management. Your time management, and also with your skimming and scanning. So how do we deal with these 2 things? These are the 2 main things. Of course, there are various strategies. Like I said, I'll be talking about it in my other videos, but today I'm just talking about the 5 main errors, 5 to 10 main errors which we actually go through while doing the real test. Now, if we're talking about time management, we are given, it is said that actually 20 minutes for each passage, but do we actually have that time, or do we actually give that much time? 20 minutes for 1 passage, it's not possible. But then this is the only way out. 18 to 20 minutes is the only time that you should be given, or that you should give yourself for 1 passage. For example, there are 13 questions in 1 passage, and you are able to do only 9 or 10 or maybe complete the entire 12 to 13 questions. But the factor remains that if you complete only 9 questions or 10 questions, finish it there, 20 minutes is over, move to the next passage. You have to understand that unless you let go of some things, you will not be able to reach to the 40th question within that 1 hour. You also have to keep this in mind, that you need also to proofread and check your spellings. So you need 5 minutes for that. So mainly, we are supposed to complete our reading in 55 minutes. Like again, I'll be talking about these things in another video. So not using your reading strategies. Sometimes when we are very intelligent and we are having a lot of knowledge over certain topics or certain things, we read a lot of books, sometimes we use our intelligence in these kind of questions, and that is the reason why we don't stick to the strategies that are actually taught to us in the classrooms. So that is the thing which most of the students sometimes find it difficult to spend 1 to 2 minutes in 1 question, and they go to 3 to 4 minutes. So if you're giving 3 to 4 minutes for 1 question, then you're buying time for the other questions. So please do not do that. Now, skimming and scanning, what does it actually mean? Most of the teachers and trainers tell you skim and scan. What does skim and scan exactly mean? Now, skimming and scanning is something that you read through the passage. You do not have to understand it word by word, but the best thing that you have to do is you have to set a number of things that needs to be underlined in that passage of yours. So what are the things that we need to underline? First of all, I'd just like to tell you is that if we're talking about one thing, any data that is related to time, anything that is a proper noun, can be names of persons, places. 3, all vocabularies, it can be scientific names, historical names, Number 6, everything that is in between inverted commas. Number 7, everything that is in italics. So these are the 5-6 points that you have to know, that while doing your skimming and scanning, this is what you have to underline. 80 to 85% of your answers are in these underlined words. Now, there is another thing also. When you are scanning, you also need to underline certain words, like for example, prepositions and conjunctions. Now, when we're talking about this, for example, there are certain words like however, which shows the change in the passage, moreover, which shows a continuation. Sometimes these words also are very stressful, giving meaning to a passage in a total different form. So some of these words also can be underlined. But these are the 6 to 7 things that if you underline while you are skimming and scanning in your passage, these are enough to get around 80 to 85% of your answers in the reading. So that's number 1 for the 5 common mistakes that we are not supposed to do in your reading. Let's go to number 2. Not writing answers on the answer sheet. Now what happens is that some of the students have this habit of completing the whole questions and answers in the sheet itself. That means in your question sheet itself. Please do not make that mistake. If you make that mistake, you're buying time. For example, if you have finished 13 questions, you have just written the answers in the passages. Again, you're moving to the second paragraph and just writing the answers. So again, at the end of the reading, that means at the end of your 40 questions, you have very less time to transfer the answers to the answer sheets. You all are aware that in listening, you have extra 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheets. But in reading, you do not have extra time. You have to transfer the answers simultaneously as you are answering them. So as you find out answer number 1, transfer it to the answer sheet. As you find it number 2, transfer it to the answer sheet. That will help you to save a lot of time, and even you will have 5 to 6 minutes left in the end of the reading to check for your spellings and other errors. Now coming to the third point, that is copy wrongly, which is actually a very famous and a very funny one actually with most of the students. No matter how intelligent you are or how well prepared you are, when it is time for the test, even me or you will always have the exam consciousness or the nervousness that we want to perform the best on that day. So in that duration, sometimes we lack our common sense, and when we are copying the answers from the answer sheet to from the question sheet to the answer sheet, what happens is sometimes we happen to copy it wrongly. So this is one thing which you have to be very specific about. If you're copying the answers from there, you need to check that whether you are copying the answers, checking the spellings, and checking if it is 2 or 3 or 4 words. You have to check all that. So that is the main problem. Like sometimes we write the right answer in the question paper, but when we copy it to the answer sheet, we are writing a wrong word or a wrong spelling. So please be careful about the third part also. The fourth part is going over the word count, which is very important and a very important point for the reading, because we have a specific bar, specific space for the reading and listening answer sheets. And you must have done all your mock tests, and you must have seen how the reading and listening answer sheets are. If you know that there is a column for the numbers, there is a column for the marking for the examiners. Now in between the space is where you have to write your answers. Now if you cross that space, or if you write any words before the space, that letter is not counted in your reading and listening. This is just for your information that your reading and listening answers are actually computerized checked. That means it goes through a scanner. Your reading and listening answers goes through a scanner where it reads only computer language, and that is the reason why we tell you to write only in block letters. You cannot write in cursive writing or any other writing. You'll have to write in block letters. So in that way, again coming back to my point, going over the word count, that means a reading or a listening answer will never ever be more than 3 words. It is either 1 word, 2 word, or 3 words. So do not write more than 3 words. One thing, if it is said that you have to write only 1 word, then make sure that you write only 1 word. And if it is 2 words, then it is 2, and if it is 3, it is 3. But for example, they say not more than 3 words. It does not mean that you cannot write 2 words and you cannot write 1 word. Not more than 3 words means you can write 1 word, you can write 2, and you can write 3. But when it says not more than 1 word, it means you cannot write more than 1 word. So these are the things which you have to be very careful while writing your answers. Another specific example I would like to give you here is if my answer is 7 books. So here directly it says for most of the students, they think it's a 2-word answer. But this is not a 2-word answer because the only word here is books. 7 is a figure and not counted as a word. So if your answer is 7 books, please go ahead and write. If it is a 1-word answer, please go ahead and write, because 7 is not a word, it's a figure, and books are words. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, moving to the 5th point, not reading the instructions, very important again. Sometimes we are so much in a hurry to complete our answers, and we are so much in a hurry to find our answers that we do not read the instructions. You have to be very careful while reading the instructions. Now I'll just give you some examples of the reading the instructions that you have. Sometimes you say, you may use the options more than once. So that's another thing which students do not read it. For example, you have a list of questions with a list of headings in your paragraph headings, and sometimes you find that you're not able to find a particular heading. But you forget to read the instructions because it said there that you can use the options more than once. So again, coming to this, not reading the instructions, which again goes to point number 4, going over the word count. If you're saying only 1 word, again that you have to read the instructions. If it's 1 word, it's 1 word, 2 words, 2 and 3 and 3. So again, reading the instructions, that means if you say, you must choose from the words below. So there will be words below for you to fill up the blanks. These are the kind of things which students do not pay much attention sometimes when they are reading, starting the reading. Now most important is that while reading the instructions, especially for a specific answer type, where it can be a true and false, it can be a not given, it can be a fill up the blanks, it can be the paragraph headings, all these things you have to be very careful while reading the instructions, because the instructions specifies exactly what is to be done. No doubt you have been practicing all these question types in your classes, day after day, month after month, but when it comes to the real test, you have to be very specific with the instructions. So these are the things which you have to be also very much, like, it is very important, because sometimes we just read the instruction once and we start finding out the answers. So I would suggest you that you at least read it to 2-3 times so that you understand what I have to do next in my question and answers. Right, so I just spoke about the 5 major points, and now I come to the next 5. I'll talk about number 10 later. I have just 9 listed here. 6, 7, 8, 9. So the 6th one is spending too much time on an answer. Now what do I mean by spending too much time on an answer? Sometimes we are so much intrigued, or the topic is of great interest to us, and we spend a lot of time on one particular question or answer, or we find that we're about to get the answer and it's just not coming in place, or I'm not able to find it. So that is the time when we spend more than 2 minutes on a particular question, a particular answer. And again, like I said in the beginning of the video, that we are buying time for the other questions, and that is the reason why you are unable to complete 40 questions in 60 minutes. Now, another thing which we have to very much understand from day one, and which I tell my students every day, is that what you really require and what you actually can get are 2 specific things which you have to make it noted from the first day itself. Number 1, it's like this. If you are getting all 40 right, well and good. That means you're scoring 9 bands, and our practice on a daily basis is always for you to score 8 to 9 bands. But let's be practical. For me, if I'm applying for a visa and my requirement is 6 each and 6.5 overall, or 7 each or 8,777, I must make sure that every day when I practice, if I am getting less than the required scores that I actually need to apply for my visa, that is the time when I have to start worrying. So in the same thing in the exams, when you're doing the exams, for example, you find that the paper is very tough, or you're not understanding anything, or you're not able to concentrate. be always careful that, for example, we all know 23 score starts with your 6 band. So you at least do 23 to 30 questions right, and if you find that the 10 are not, you're not able to concentrate on them, it's absolutely fine. So that is what actually means spending too much time on an answer. For example, I'm doing the first passage 1 to 13. I have answered it very well. I have lots of time and I could have enough time to answer each and every question. When I move to the passage 2 and passage 3, I find that I am running out of time and I don't have much time for these. So what do? I start rushing myself. And in that order, what happens is that even the easiest of questions, which you know that the answers are easily available in the paragraphs, you will not have enough time to really be very carefully answering them. So you'll be rushing them. So always give 1 to 2 minutes. That is the maximum for one answer. If you find that I'm not getting the answer, please move to the second question. But when you are translating your answers to the answer sheets, when you are transferring them, you have to be sure that you do not miss empty spaces. Now I'll come to that point in a 9. Why should we not leave those empty spaces? So let's talk about the 7th one, looking for exact words instead of synonyms. What does that mean? We already know that we have been practicing for the last 1 month, 15 days or 2 months and doing regularly every day our reading. So we have that kind of fixed mindset that the reading will be like this in the exam. So when we go to the exams, we start reading the questions and the answers and we find that, oh, related to this word should be this word. And what we do is we try to find that word in the passage. For example, I am going home, or I am driving home. So the word in the blank can either be going, driving. So these are the kind of specific words we already have in our minds and we think that that is the answer and we try to find out those answers in the passages. Please do not do that. The answer can be something else. The answer can be a synonym also. Especially in your fill up the blanks. If you find that after the first, second or third blank you are unable to find the answers in the passages, or you find that the words are not there, you have to understand they are synonyms. Now coming to the 8th point, answering questions before the text. Many people do that. I know it sounds funny, but many people do that. What do? Before they read the question properly, they go and list down and they go and list all the vocabularies and the keywords on the answers, and then they find that, okay, this is what they're asking for, and they start reading the passage without reading the question. So please do not do that. Numbering in order. As I said in point number 6, is when we spend too much time on an answer, and the advice that I gave you is that if you're writing answer number 1, you don't know the answer, you're not sure, whatever you feel at that time, that is called also like your sixth sense or whatever your intuitions say at that time. Please write the answer, do not leave it blank. Second answer you write again. Because what happens if the numbers go on like this, if you leave some spaces here, for example, the third part you've left a space, again fourth part you've written the answer. Next time when you start writing the fourth answer, you may write it in the third number. So what happens, the numbering of the questions may be different while your answers are right, and that is also another reason why students do not score. They think that they have done the test very well, the reading was very easy, but how is it that I did not score? So sometimes the numbering confuses you. So this is what you have to be very careful if you're writing answer 1, 2, 3, when you're transferring your answers. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever answer you feel that which you are not very sure, please write. If you have time, you can come back again, but whatever word you feel at that particular moment of time, write it. Do not leave it blank. Right, so coming to the 10th, a major contribution to reading, but which is actually also one of the biggest mistakes that most of the students do. We do not realize it when we're doing these mistakes, especially when we're very sure of some spellings, that we know the spellings and we transfer it to the answer sheet, so we think that we've written the right answers or the right spellings. But then my advice to you would always be that after you have transferred all the 40 answers to the answer sheet, please check spellings once again. Sometimes you may miss an S, sometimes you may miss an E, sometimes you may miss an I. So always check the spellings, which is very important. Proofreading in the sense means if you have written it in 1 word, 2 words, or 3 words, if you have written the right form that is given in the passage. Sometimes when we copy certain words from the passages also, we happen to copy it wrongly on the answer sheets. So that is the biggest mistake which most of the students do. I find many of my students doing the same thing. The answer is there in the passage. That same answer has to be written in the answer sheets, and it is a wrong answer. It is a wrong spelling. So that is the reason why sometimes we lose on scores. So that's it for today on the most common mistakes. That is the 10 common mistakes in reading. Stay with us for more videos, and please do comment your queries or comments, anything that you'd like to know more. We'd be happy to help you. Have a great day.